First of all, being scheduled before wine and then coming after Alex with this amazing talk is not that relieving of stress, I would say. So anyhow, today I want to talk about the illusions and real magic, a story about projects to guide product development. It's a fairy tale. Are you ready for a fairy tale? It's like a bedtime story. Yeah? You ready for it? Okay, so you acknowledge to be okay with a fairy tale and a story, yeah? Yeah? Otherwise, please leave the room. There we go. In my fairy tale, once upon a time, there was this kind of needy guy that had a wish, a problem that needed to be solved. And this needy guy had a bag of money to get it solved, which made it a lot easier for him. Of course, in my fairy tale story, there was also this fairy tale delivery organization. Oh. A fairy tale delivery organization. So that might or might not be able to help that needy guy. So in my story, this needy guy connected with the delivery organization and they start having a conversation. So that my fairy tale delivery organization could help the needy guy with his issue, his need, his wish. So they need to clarify things, they need to discuss things. So you think everything goes fine in a fairy tale. To be honest, the happy end will come at the end. So not necessarily in the middle, you know. A story needs to have an intro, then it goes bad, and then you have the happy ending. So this is also going to happen today. So anyhow, they have the conversation, and this conversation leads to tension. So there's a tension between my needy guy and my fairy tale delivery organization. My needy guy always wants more. To be honest, you think in organizations like yours and anywhere else, just like my fairy tale, that people think we need to have it cheaper. That's at least what I hear a lot. We need to have it cheaper. It's not about cheap, by the way. It's just like if I need to order a car, for example, then my bag of money basically is given by my wife. She says, this is the amount of money you can spend. So do you think I go and look at the car configurators, the best requirements tools ever, by the way. So if I go to the car configurators, that I want to get the cheapest car possible? No. Not at all. I want to get as many features as I can. You click on those features and then you see, oh, there's a package that includes those features, plus extras. Whoa, let's go for that one. So we always want more. Also in my story here, in my fairy tale, this needy guy always wants more. Then my fairy organization, they listen into this thing, they hear this needy guy, and they think like, damn, we always overrun budgets, our profit margins are shrinking by the day, so we cannot do more. So they push back. They always push back, we want less. So this is this kind of tension that is living in my fairy tale. You can imagine that? It's a fairy tale, I know in your organization it's not happening, but anyhow. So at a certain moment in time, they stop having this conversation, this tension gets resolved, and they put it in this contract. You can call it a project contract. So it's something significant, you see? It will take more than a year from my fairy tale delivery organization, even with fairy dust, to actually be able to deliver this. So it's significant. Of course, in a contract, what do you put there? The golden triangle. Also in my fairy tale, they adapt this practice of the golden triangle. We have scope, cost, time. Boom. Clearly done. So for something more than a year. This is in a fairy tale. I know we are at an Agile conference, so none of your organizations are still doing this bullshit, of course. That's why it's a story. So, of course, it's not delivered in a year. So this fairy tale delivery organization, they first go in all this analysis, functional analysis, then technical analysis. They drop it at the coders are coding, then they drop it at QA, and after a year of tremendously hard work and all those nice metrics that you have seen before my talk, they go back to the customer and they give it in their hands. And my needy guy goes immediately, this is not what I wanted. And you get bothered with small change requests, defects, bugs, all the rest, and then actually when it's really done, is most probably a lot later in my fairy tale, of course. So this is the situation that we had. So I want to ask you a couple of questions in relation to this scenario. You're still with me in this scenario? Or you already went to sleep? So it's a bedtime story, I know. Now, let's zoom in on scope. So imagine, so they stop discussing, they put this here in a contract very early on. They say, okay, this is it, scope, time, cost. Imagine the scope that is in this document versus The scope that is here when it was completely done. No defects, nothing anymore. Everything is completely finished, paid for, value delivered. What would be the percent change for something significant? Remember, it's a one-year thing. What would be percent change of this initial scope over there versus the real one at the end? 80% difference. Anybody wants to bid more? 200. Anything else? Somebody has a low number? Nobody knows. No. So 80, 200. I always get some numbers. It generally starts around 80 and it sometimes ends up with 1,000, 2,000, something like that. Yeah, you're a consultant most probably. if not, you need to go into that business for sure. Anyhow, so we always get this kind of high numbers. If people look at their own past history, which like, let's say, 30 years ago when they still did projects, then you will notice it's somewhere 80 till 2,000 something. Let's make it a bit more difficult. This was easy, one element, one number. If you think about the cost and time, so both aspects, and you see, okay, this is the cost and time we predicted in our contract versus the cost and time when it was completely done. What would be the percent difference? One number for both aspects. 5,000. Okay, that's already quite significant. What else? 400. So also there you get high numbers. Strange, isn't it? So we're not done. If you think we are done, let's do another aspect of this kind of contract that we had here. In my fairy tale only, of course. So if we have scope, generally in organizations like this, the needy guy came with scope. And then he asked my fairy tale delivery organization, when will I get it? How much will it cost? So to actually distill cost and time, it means that my fairy tale delivery organization assumed a certain kind of productivity in their organization. Otherwise, they cannot come up with time and money. Agree? Yeah? So if we now look at this one-year time frame, how many factors can you think of that potentially could influence productivity in a one-year time frame? COVID was one. A flu epidemic might be two. Having too much wine later on, tomorrow will be number 3. So how many factors can you think of? Hundreds. When I ask people to write it down, like frequently get those flat 8s. The infinity symbol. So the thing is, if we look at my fairy tale here, and things like that, they start to see, okay, you know what? All those numbers you had in your heads, the numbers that were announced, we never got 3 times 0. We didn't get 0% difference on scope. We didn't get 0% difference on time and money. We didn't get 0 factors that could influence productivity. So we always get a lot more. So it means that it's your evidence because you all had this in your head. I don't need research papers and other things. It's your evidence, it's group evidence that this thing here in my fairy tale, this contract, is an illusion. So this is good to know. As my fairy tale delivery organization, they understand it's an illusion. They accept it as an illusion. It's a fairy tale, so yeah, why not? They accept it's an illusion. And they understand, you know what? If it's an illusion, there are 3 key elements to make an illusion wow. If you look at David Copperfield or those card tricks on television, there are 3 key elements to make a show really like, whoa, this is it. So they think about it, and they say, you know what? We treat it as an illusion, so we're going to implement those 3 key elements. Step 1, we need to make sure that people are distracted from the real trick. Because if you do magician and illusionist, people, the audience, cannot see the real trick. So we need distraction. So we set up distraction. So that people are distracted from the real thing. So that's step 1. You see a Gantt chart, but if you are using this kind of portfolio program Kanban board, it's the same thing. It's distraction from the real thing. So that's step 1. So this, check, we have it. We're not done, we need 3 key elements. So the second element that my fairy tale delivery organization implements is the element of surprise. You know, if you look at an illusionist show on television and you can exactly predict what's going to happen, it can still be an okay show, but it will never be the wow show. So we need a wow show. So we need this kind of surprise, and there we go. Green, green, green. And then 2 months before the deadline, woohoo! Red, surprise. In a real batch-based phase gate process, that's the system that is designed like that. Because the contract goes to functional analysts, and the functional analysts are always blamed because the customer at the end says, this is what I asked for, so they apply the CYA technology. You understand CYA? The cover your ass technology, the most popular one in corporate environments. So they're going to put more and more features, just in case the customer made a mistake and they need this. Then they so they need more time than what is in this project contract. So yeah, what do? The project manager goes like, yeah, but you know, if the features are that well described, then testing is peanuts, it's copy-paste in your scenarios, done. So let's strengthen the test scenarios. Coding will also be a bit easier, so shorten this time a bit. Yay, green, you know. Nothing to worry about. Then we throw it over to the technical analysts or architects. And then they think about actually more features than they needed to think about already, so they need more time. And today as well, everything needs to be platformed, so they spend more and more time on it. So they go to the project manager and say, hey, we need more time. The project manager goes like, yeah, but yeah, you know, if the functionality is that well described, and the architecture, technology, and technical part is that well described, then coding is peanuts. It's like 2 inputs, 1 output. It could be automated. I don't understand why AI is still not doing this. So yeah, we shorten that time. Who is coding? Raise your hands if you're still coding. Oh, that's disappointing. For those that code, then if a project manager comes to you and they say, how is this feature going? Then what's the default answer that a coder gives to a project manager? It's almost done. We're almost there. And because the project manager, even in my fairy tale delivery organization, they don't understand shit about code, the only thing they can do is trust whatever you tell them. So the next day, we go to this developer, we ask like, how is this feature going? It's almost there. The day after, so yeah, why bother? Green. So this project manager in my fairy tale organization gets really worried. And 2 months before the deadline, he goes to that team and with the developers and he asks, how is this feature going? He gets the answer. And he says like, I don't fucking care. You need to bring it all together. It needs to go to testing now. No. I don't care about whatever you tell me. No. That's the moment when, boo, the magic turns out. Of course, this is only happening in a fairy tale organization in my bedtime story, not in real life. So yeah, we have 2 elements. Third element, not to forget, this is also why I asked you if you're okay with a fairy tale and a bedtime story. So this illusionist contract is given to a project manager. Project managers in the room? They don't dare to anymore. It's like, ooh. There's more project managers in the room than people that can code. You know, value delivery versus other stuff. This is the bureaucracy mass index or the corporate obesity index. If you have more other people than people actually creating value, you have to do something. Anyhow, give it to a project manager. Project manager went to the PMI. You all know what PMI stands for. Yeah, but if you know they are actually tackling an illusion, because that's reality, in my fairy tale organization, they understand, they send them to the Project Magician Institute. And you think you're telling this because you're an agile person and you want to blame this thing. No. They actually do. Actually, if you look at real life, look at the top. They say they are miracle workers. So even they themselves understand it. So this is the illusion. We said illusions and real magic. That's the moment when the real magic kicks in. You know, the red light pops up. And for some reason, true magic, exactly at the deadline, full scope, everything is delivered. Who's been there? I've been there, yeah? So red light and bang is it. This is true magic, isn't it? This is not an illusion anymore. This is true magic. Let's zoom in this true magic scenario. So true magic starts with our executive grand wizard in my fairy tale delivery organization going to all the other elves over there and saying, I don't care, whatever it takes, make it happen. So a bit of pressure, nobody gets hurt, a bit of pressure, isn't it? Put a bit of pressure. So he even continues, he said, you know what? If you stay over the weekend, I will buy the pizzas. So, if you make the deadline full complete, you all get a bonus. But if you fail the deadline, I will feel forced to fire some of you. So yeah, what do? I don't want you to get fired. So I start hacking code. I just hack things together. I ignore completely clean code, clean architecture, all those nice things that you learn at school. Ignore, just out. Now, just to make sure nobody gets fired and that we get pizza, of course. Anyhow, if we don't do clean code and we hack things together, it means we are basically building up this kind of technical debt. So yeah, we build up technical debt. So hacking things together, having huge technical debt will lead to, lots of defects. We know defects will come. We don't know how many. When they will pop up, defects will come. Because of the technical misery that we build here, we create for ourselves, it will make sure that the duration and effort that we need to put in there to add a new feature or new value into our product becomes worse and worse. We also don't know when it will happen, how much worse it will happen, but it will come. So if you look like we have defects, which we don't know when, how many, how much thing, here we know it will take more time. We don't know when, how much, and this. So this will lead to more and more variation on our planned schedule. This is, of course, our Grand Lord Wizard there, putting pressure, doesn't like variation. You're like, oh, this cannot happen. So what happens? More pressure. More of those bribes and threats. Even more hacking. Over time, the only thing we have is lousy code and pressure continuously. It's a system designed for pressure and lousy code. I promised a happy ending. So yeah, let's try. So in my fairy tale delivery organization, I had this epiphany. This bathtub light, poof, in their head. And they thought, you know what? Even our Grand Lord Wizard here cannot put pressure on us. Nobody can actually pressure anybody. The only person that can pressure me as a person is myself. So from now on, I really choose to ignore the pressure that somebody else feels. I choose not to be pressured. Done. It's not because my boss feels pressure that I need to adopt or adapt that pressure. It's a choice. So they choose not to be pressured. Voila, no pressure. They also ignored all the bribes and threats, except of the pizza. So they stopped hacking. They spent time on clean code. They made it easier to actually get new features on. There come less and less bugs, easier and easier to add new features, so the variance became less and less. So also the urge to put pressure became less and less. Over time, they get into such a situation that actually they have zero defects. They could throw away all their defect tracking systems because there was no need to track this. They didn't need ITIL and all this other misery. There were none. So, and then they had this high level of predictability, low variance to zero variance. I know you mentioned, Jurgen, you mentioned those group evidence that nothing will be ever predictable. So how does it actually work out? Except next to actually the epiphany of not adopting pressure anymore, they also had this idea instead of having all those component teams where somebody do the wheels of the car, somebody else the engine of the car, and then somebody the chassis and things like that, we're going to actually create what they call product teams. And we put them all behind this one backlog thing. And we're going to say this is the most important thing to work on as a group of teams. And every iteration, they actually provide a highly integrated, ready-to-go product in the hands of the end user. So this is important in the scenario of getting a higher level of predictability or having those dynamics being played in the organization. Because at this moment in time, the people in the team don't understand a piece of the solution. They really understand the need of my needy guy, what they really want, what their real things is. So it makes the solution a lot easier. Not only that, it drives comfort to deal with variation. Why? If you have 10 people in a team, and you have 6 teams here, it means we have 60 people. If they work for a 2-week iterations, that's 10 man days, it means we are spending 600 man days every sprint. If we calculate this into euros and money, because, the organizations only care about money, that means every sprint we spend 300K. So if we spend 300K, we should be able to deliver something significantly impactful where the needy guy understands like, wow, yes. It's not something small. If I would allow those teams here, every single individual, to change something there and change something there, and all start 50 different things at the same time, after a 2-week sprint, what do we get? A small thing here, a small thing there. The needy guy goes, and I have no idea. It's chaos. So by driving the significant alignment to one impactful thing, it drives comfort for the needy guy, but also for my fairy tale delivery organization, which is great. So this prevents the fallacy of the small numbers, I would say. The more teams we can have working on the same thing at the same time, the less variation we get. So with your, before that, I said the metrics on individual is bad. Metrics on team is also bad, but it's better than the individual. If you have a metric not on team, but on teams, it becomes better. The reason is very simple. If you look at one server, you all understand the server, eh? Yeah, and you all understand workload on the server, CPU load. Also the project managers in the room? Okay. So if you measure for that one server for 1 hour, what's the workload on that server? And you measure again for 1 hour, and again for 1 hour, and again for 1 hour, and you do this for a month, and you put all these 1 hour measurements next to each other, you will notice there's high variation between those measurements. If we now say, okay, we take 8 servers, and instead of 1 hour, we measure for 24 hours, and another 24 hours, and another 24 hours, and another 24 hours, and you put those measurements next to each other, you will see a lower variation in those measurements, which means that with 8 servers, we can absorb lots of the variation, the numbers you were thinking about at the start, without the need to actually announce change. That's the difference of working with 1 team or 6 at the same time, or 8, whatever. So we can absorb a hell of a lot of those things. Will it be exactly predictable? Never. If you do Agile, it's never for predictability that we do Agile as well. Anyhow, this is what they did. And it didn't stop there, by the way. So instead of having reports and Kanbans and other stuff presented to my needy guy, they actually, every 2 weeks, they deliver product in the hands of that person. So that they really felt the impact every 2 weeks, every single sprint. They even clarified the needs together with my needy person. So, and this is where the happy end comes, because now, at this moment in time, my needy person becomes very happy of constantly, every 2 weeks, feeling the impact. Not small change, but really feeling significant impact. 300K, 60 man days, it's not small, eh? So it's big change continuously. So they feel very comfortable, they're very happy. They can drive where everything is going. Great. My employees, also amazingly happy. Of course, this is only fairy tale. You don't need to believe me. So, then again, let's listen into one of my past clients. I hope the audio will work.
My name is Václav. Surname is Muchna, as long as you can pronounce that. I am the CEO and co-founder of Ysoft, and I'm here today because I wanted to share with you our journey through less.
So now you understand which company it is. The company is not that far away from here. You go that direction to the left and you will be at the company. So it's a Czech company. I also have Belgian companies. I have Canadian companies. So anyhow, we are in Czech, so I use a Czech company. This is a result.
The productivity skyrocketed. You may, Czech people may have read that 400% increase in productivity. That 400 is a real number.
So no joking, eh? So people go like, I heard this morning when people were talking about team organizational topologies. Oh, there's one backlog, multiple teams, what's the benefit? Well, to be honest, I know the organization. I know Vasek here as well, by the way, so personally. How he measures productivity, I have no clue. But okay, his announcement is 400% more. And it didn't stop there.
Our capability to deliver on that roadmap is 92% at this moment. So 92% from the roadmap we deliver on time as we promised.
Voila, predictability. How do they achieve this? Well, actually, they understood projects are an illusion, so they ignore. And they have 15 teams working on one backlog with one product owner. For your management report, one product owner, 15 teams. Then again, the product owner is most probably not what you recognize as a product owner. In their context, the real product owner there is Voodoo, being the co-founder of the organization, the second biggest shareholder of the company. That's the real product owner. Anyhow, it didn't stop.
The mood in R&D, people say that they are, 80% of people will tell you that either they are satisfied or they are very satisfied with their job. Absolutely perfect, right? So I'm really, really happy.
So it's not squeezing people anymore, not creating code monkeys. It's actually making people happier as well. Eh? If I said it was happy people, I'm not joking. Eh? Happy CEO, happy people. The only thing I don't have here on stage and recorded is their customers. Then again.
We hired Jurgen to help us with the transition.
So this is my metric. If you say metrics, if I look at my coaching gigs, not the trading, but coaching gigs, my metric is how many of my clients go actually on stage bragging about what they achieved with whatever they did. Not me telling you all of this stuff. This is my value metric in this context. And then I measure year after year after year. To be honest, I'm doing Scrum since 1998, so there's quite some data available. Anyhow, thank you for listening. So if there are questions, then to be honest, I would prefer to take them at wine, but anyhow, I see Fred already standing there like, no, you don't. So if you want to understand how to turn this around and having all of these teams working on backlog, next month, I'm back in Prague. Imagine that. You can always join me over there. Thank you.